Welcome back to Total F1. We're coming back to you with an interesting F1 topic, but it's something from the past. So, we have planned to discuss the Tyre Wars in F1, which became an interesting thing in the sport a few decades back. But at present time, we can see only one tyre supplier in the sport, and more recently, Pirelli signed a new agreement to extend its partnership with F1 as the sole tyre supplier of the sport until 2027. But there were multiple power suppliers in the sport before 2006, and they were competing against each other like power unit suppliers. So, it's time to discuss the matter in detail. But before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. Since the inception of the Formula 1 Championship, leading tyre brands like Dunlop, Firestone, Continental, Goodyear, Avon Rubber, Engelbert, Pirelli and Michelin actively participated in the sport. This was like a war as F1 became a good stage to promote their brands to a global audience. In the early era between 1950 and 1960, F1 tyres were supplied by 6 companies. In the first 3 years, it was a battle between brands like Pirelli, Dunlop and Engelbert. Then in 1952, Firestone joined the tyre war, but only for a single season. Avon and Continental brands decided to join this great motorsport series in 1954, but Pirelli, Dunlop and Engelbert continued their domination till 1958. However, Dunlop became the sole tyre supplier of Formula 1 in 1959 and was able to save their status for the next 6 years, until Goodyear was able to become the tyre supplier of several F1 teams ahead of the 1964 season, creating the backdrop for another tyre war. Following the footsteps of Goodyear, Firestone also entered the F1 arena, intensifying the battle to become the best tyre supplier. However, Dunlop suddenly disappeared from the sport in 1971, creating the scenario for a two-way battle between Goodyear and Firestone. But Goodyear started to edge out Firestone with time, becoming the dominant tyre supplier in the sport. Then, there was no war until Bridgestone decided to join the fight ahead of the 1997 season. After competing 2 seasons with their newest rival, Goodyear decided to leave the sport, leaving Bridgestone as the sole tyre manufacturer. Then the dominancy of Bridgestone over the tyre supplier process ended with the joining of Michelin as a new tyre supplier ahead of the 2001 season. The early 2000s is considered as the most favourite era for most F1 fans, not only due to the heavy competition between teams, but also due to the war between Bridgestone and Michelin to become the best tyre brand. This was the last era that the sport had a tyre war. One of the peak points of the F1 tyre war arrived in 2005 during the United States Grand Prix. Michelin tyres were found to be unsafe at certain speeds when passing turn 13. Michelin was without any proper understanding about the issue, and all the solutions they came up with failed, opening a big question about the participation of their 7 customer teams to the event. Bridgestone wasn't flexible with the solutions proposed by Michelin, so as the final outcome of the tyre war between these 2 brands, only the 3 teams that used Bridgestone participated in the event, and 7 other teams which used Michelin rubber avoided the race due to safety concerns. Ending the final tyre war in F1, Michelin decided to leave F1 at the end of the 2006 season, and Bridgestone became the sole tyre supplier for the next 3 seasons. But Bridgestone also decided to leave the sport at the end of the 2009 season, creating the opportunity for a new manufacturer to become F1's sole tyre supplier. 3 tyre brands showed their interest in becoming the tyre supplier. Michelin, which left the sport in 2006, also wanted to rejoin the sport. Other than that, Cooper Avon and Pirelli also showed their interest. After concerning different aspects, F1 management decided to move ahead with Pirelli, introducing the sole tyre manufacturer concept to the sport again. Initially, Pirelli received a 3-year contract until 2011, and since then, they are still dominating the sport as the sole tyre supplier. However, Pirelli did a great job in developing the F1 tyres and introducing a range of compounds, turning the F1 tyre into a more strategic tool inside the sport. Actually, these developments have resulted in bringing the sport to a totally new level. In 2018, Hankook came forward as the main rival for Pirelli in the bidding process to supply tyres for the 2020-2023 period. But Pirelli was able to win that mini-war as well, snatching the contract again. More recently, the Italian tyre manufacturer has extended its partnership with the Formula 1 series until the end of 2027. This time, former tyre supplier Bridgestone showed its interest in becoming a supplier again, and went for a competitive bidding alongside with the Italian tyre manufacturer. So, the Japanese firm didn't want to lose the contract easily, and the bidding process ended, resulting in a huge hike in the fee being paid to F1 by Pirelli. When Bridgestone left the sport at the end of 2009, Formula 1 management wanted to control the one variable that affected the fair play between teams, and that's why it decided to move to a single tyre supplier. Imagine there are two tyre suppliers as X and Y. X is supplying for 9 teams and Y is supplying for only 1. Then it becomes how to create a fair ground for all at once. On the other hand, it's easy to compile regulations regarding tyre usage when there is only one tyre manufacturer in the sport. Recent improvements related to tyre usage have been achieved mostly due to the flexibility and simpleness when working with one tyre supplier. With F1's recent approach towards higher sustainability and cost reduction, it doesn't need to go for a setup with multiple tyre suppliers, which adds an extra amount of cost for multiple testing. Extending Pirelli's contract as a sole tyre supplier in F1 till 2027, Formula 1 CEO Stefano Domenicali says that a return to the tyre war with more than one tyre supplier is not on the sport's future agenda. I think that point was taken together with the FIA to make sure that we are able to control the costs of the ecosystem of F1. That was the main reason that we moved from the tyre competition, where we had a lot of testing, where we had a lot of mileage, and where there was a lot of research that was really beneficial. But the cost was really massive, Domenicali said further, explaining the reason to move away from Tyre Wars. That means there is no possibility to see any Tyre Wars up to 2027. There is an ugly side as well as an interesting side to this tyre war. Currently, the main focus of the sport is sustainability, and it's hard to think that the sport will move into multiple tyre suppliers in the near future as well. What do you think about the tyre wars? Is it good or bad for the sport? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to get more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.